Families are supposed to share love, not restraining orders. Welcome to the genealogy of pure chaos. 1. The Great Gravy War of Kentucky. Two brothers spent 20 years not speaking over a Thanksgiving gravy incident. One made it too thick, the other called it culinary cement. And before dessert was served, mashed potatoes were flying like mortar shells. They built matching houses on opposite sides of the same street, just so they could glare at each other every morning. When one died, the other showed up at the funeral just to whisper, "Still too salty." Somewhere in Kentucky, there's a tombstone that reads, "Beloved brother, terrible cook." 2. The backyard fence. That bankrupted a family in suburban Ohio, a family feud began over a single inch of property. One cousin built a fence exactly 1.2 inches over the property line. The other sued for emotional distress caused by visual obstruction. Over 6 years, legal fees ballooned past $120,000 on land worth less than a used Honda Civic. When the court finally ruled, both families had moved out. The fence was rotting, and the new owners tore it down for a dog run. The only thing separating them now? Mutual regret and matching bankruptcy filings. 3. Grandma's Facebook Civil War. A simple Facebook post spiraled into digital Armageddon. Grandma uploaded a family photo with the caption, "My real family. Cue the fireworks." Half the relatives unfriended her, one aunt subtweeted biblical verses, and a cousin started a rival Facebook group called The True Descendants of Mary Ann. Thanksgiving that year was basically a Cold War summit with pie. To this day, Grandma maintains she did nothing wrong. She just tagged who mattered. If the family tree had branches before, Facebook turned it into splinters. 4. The will that turned into a reality show. In Florida, a father tried to teach his 3 adult kids a lesson in humility by adding one absurd clause to his will. Whoever stayed in his house for a full year after his death, without quitting, leaving, or evicting the others, would inherit everything. What followed made Survivor look like a group therapy session. Cameras from the local news even caught police arriving after a butter knife duel over thermostat settings. By month 6, one daughter had built a pillow fort barricade. The son started charging admission to tourists, and the youngest attempted to fake her own disappearance. When the year finally ended, they discovered the father's bank account had only $14,000 in it, and most of it went to repairs after someone tried to install a ghost-proof security system. They all left broke, furious, and slightly famous. The moral? Never underestimate how fast inheritance can turn into entertainment. 5. The church parking lot apocalypse. A family in Georgia split into 2 feuding factions after Grandma's funeral because, wait for it, they disagreed on who should park in her favorite church spot. One uncle spray-painted "Reserved for Mom" on the asphalt. Another erased it. Within weeks, they were attending separate Sunday services at rival churches across town, both claiming spiritual ownership of the asphalt. When one side organized a charity bake sale, the other retaliated with a rival lemonade stand. The feud reached divine proportions when someone anonymously left a traffic cone labeled "God's Spot." Eventually, the pastor installed a handicapped space just to end the chaos. Nobody parks there anymore. It's considered sacred ground of pure stupidity. 6. The Battle of the Lawn Flamingos. In Wisconsin, 2 elderly sisters lived next door and competed in what became the longest-running passive-aggressive war in the Midwest, decorative lawn warfare. It began when one sister placed a single pink flamingo by her mailbox. The other retaliated with 2. Within months, their yards looked like a neon bird sanctuary on hallucinogens. By year 3, there were over 200 plastic flamingos, motion sensor sprinklers, and a windmill shaped like Elvis. The local news covered it as flamingo fever, and tourists came to take selfies. When City Council finally banned excessive lawn decor, both sisters united, for the first time in decades, to sue the city together. They lost, obviously, but won something greater: viral fame and matching tattoos that read, "Let the flock live." 7. The Great Potato Salad Betrayal. In Minnesota, a family reunion turned into a culinary Cold War when Aunt Linda claimed her potato salad recipe was a cherished family secret. Her cousin Deborah, tired of the bragging, entered an identical version in the county fair and won first prize. Linda accused her of recipe espionage, and the feud escalated to handwritten cease-and-desist letters, laminated copies of old index cards, and one unforgettable shouting match at Applebee's. The family eventually took sides like it was the Super Bowl, Team Mayo versus Team Mustard. When the fair tried to mediate, both women showed up with coolers of evidence. Years later, neither speaks to the other, but their grandkids keep the feud alive on TikTok with side-by-side recipe battles. In a way, it's poetic. One bowl of cold potatoes managed to destroy a bloodline and start a new social media trend. 8. The tractor heist of Iowa. Two brothers inherited their late father's prized 1967 John Deere tractor, an ancient but beloved machine that symbolized everything he stood for: hard work, pride, and the ability to mow half the county without a complaint. The older brother claimed ownership because he could drive stick first. The younger disagreed and staged a midnight tractor heist, towing it 3 towns away to his barn. The older brother tracked it using a drone, leading to a standoff involving local police, 2 pitchforks, and a confused neighbor live-streaming the whole event. The court eventually ruled for shared custody. One brother gets the tractor from April to September, the other from October to March. Family gatherings now involve carefully timed small talk about the weather, because mentioning harvest season is considered a declaration of war. 9. The wedding that split the family tree. A family in California experienced a meltdown of cinematic proportions after one cousin invited her ex-boyfriend, who happened to now be engaged to her sister, to her wedding as a peace gesture. Peace was not achieved. During the reception, the ex caught the bouquet, his fiancée caught the garter, and the bride caught a full-blown emotional breakdown. The families took sides like it was a medieval battlefield: bridesmaids versus in-laws, flower girls crying behind overturned chairs. By the end of the night, both cakes were ruined. 3 centerpieces were used as projectiles, and someone allegedly baptized themselves in the punch bowl. The newlyweds moved states afterward, declaring a no-family zone for future holidays. Their marriage somehow survived, but Thanksgiving didn't. 10. The turkey incident of 2011. It started as a normal Thanksgiving in Pennsylvania, until Grandpa decided to deep-fry the turkey in the garage for efficiency. The fryer tipped, setting off a chain reaction that involved a flaming bird, a melted snowblower, and one cousin heroically wielding a garden hose like Rambo. Instead of gratitude, chaos reigned. Uncle Ron blamed Aunt Kathy for jinxing it with her vegan casserole. She retaliated by telling everyone his famous pumpkin pie was store-bought. By dessert, 2 family members had left the group chat, and Grandma muttered, "This is why I fake my strokes." Every year since, they still meet, but the turkey's now pre-sliced, cold, and store-bought. No one's allowed near the fryer, and Grandpa isn't allowed near open flames or family politics. 11. The DNA test disaster. One Christmas, a well-meaning aunt decided to buy everyone those trendy Ancestry DNA kits. Cute idea, until the results came back. Turns out, one cousin wasn't exactly part of the gene pool everyone thought. Within days, half the family was on Google Maps hunting for secret relatives, and the other half was quietly rethinking every family resemblance. Aunt Marlene called it a science scam, Uncle Joe called it karma, and Grandma just said, "Told you so," without explaining why. Family reunions now have 2 separate buffets, one for confirmed relatives and one for pending results. The only universally accepted truth? Never let science sit at the dinner table again. 12. The hamster custody case. In Oregon, 2 divorced parents went to small claims court over who owned their son's pet hamster, Mr. Wiggles. The father argued it was a symbol of family unity. The mother said it was an emotional hostage. When the judge suggested shared custody, they both refused, citing irreconcilable chewing habits. Eventually, the hamster was placed in neutral territory, at Grandma's house, where he lived like royalty, eating organic lettuce and outliving everyone's expectations. The family still argues about visitation rights, and Grandma occasionally sends Mr. Wiggles updates with captions like, "He's the only one in this family who behaves." Somewhere, that hamster has a better lawyer than half of America. 13. The haunted inheritance of Aunt Dolores. When Aunt Dolores passed away in Louisiana, she left her house to her nieces, along with a note warning, "The one who sells it will meet the ghost." Naturally, the sisters didn't believe her. The eldest listed the house immediately, and within a week, the buyer backed out after strange noises and a woman humming near the attic. The second niece called it Nonsense. Until her car alarm started going off every night at 3 a.m. Now, neither will step foot inside. The house sits empty, fully paid off, but avoided like a crime scene. Locals say you can still hear faint arguing coming from inside. Probably the ghost of Dolores herself. Still annoyed no one read the fine print. 14. The tomato sauce standoff. In New Jersey, two Italian-American brothers inherited their late mother's legendary spaghetti sauce recipe. The problem? Each swore his version was the authentic one. One used fresh basil, the other used dried oregano, and both treated it like religious doctrine. The feud got so heated that they opened rival restaurants, Mama Rosa's Authentic and the Real Mama Rosa's. Customers picked sides, Yelp reviews turned into battlefields, and the local newspaper ran a headline reading, "A family divided by marinara." Even the local priest stopped blessing their sauce competitions after one brother hurled a ladle mid-sermon. When the health inspector shut both places down for excessive yelling near open flame, they refused to reconcile. To this day, the family Christmas dinner involves two separate pasta pots, two separate tables, and one exhausted grandmother muttering, "I raised idiots." 15. The Grandma GPS War. In Arizona, a family road trip turned into an interstate feud when Grandma insisted her instincts were better than the GPS. After ignoring 3 wrong-way alerts and 2 highway exits, she led the family 40 miles off course to a town called Nothing, Arizona, literally named for having 0 population. Grandpa refused to speak for the rest of the drive, and the kids made a TikTok titled, "How Grandma Invented Time Travel," to 1953. By the time they reached their destination, the entire family had split into Team GPS and Team Grandma, each armed with their own navigation app. Now, every vacation begins with a vote on who's allowed to navigate. Grandma always loses, but still ends up yelling directions from the back seat. 16. The Grill of Doom. In Texas, 2 brothers-in-law started an annual 4th of July cook-off. It began friendly until one accused the other of using illegal lighter fluid. That sparked an 11-year grilling arms race involving secret spice blends, temperature sensors, and one custom-built smoke cannon. At one point, a neighbor called the fire department after mistaking their cookout for a controlled burn. Each year, the loser swears he'll retire, then shows up with more gear than a NASA launch. Their wives no longer attend. They host their own barbecue across town called the Sanity Grill. Last year, the competition ended in a tie after both grills exploded simultaneously. Nobody was hurt, but local legend says you can still smell brisket every time they shake hands. 17. The Airbnb family hostage crisis. A reunion in Colorado went viral after one cousin refused to pay her share of the Airbnb. The host refused to let anyone leave until the bill was settled, literally locking the smart door remotely. The family split instantly. Half wanted to Venmo her out of pure survival instinct. The other half said, "Let her sweat." It turned into a 2-day standoff featuring rationed snacks, TikToks documenting day 2 of financial captivity, and one uncle trying to negotiate like it was a hostage situation. Eventually, the host relented, but not before the cousin posted a 1-star review titled, "Held Prisoner by Greedy Relatives." The story made national news, and the Airbnb owner now advertises the house as the infamous family feud cabin, now with Wi-Fi. 18. The Great Dishwasher Rebellion. In Illinois, a newlywed couple triggered a decade-long family Cold War over a single appliance. The wife's mother swore dishes should be rinsed before going into the dishwasher. The husband's mother claimed only lazy people rinse twice. The argument began during Easter dinner and somehow evolved into an annual tradition of competing dish cleaning demonstrations. Eventually, both grandmothers refused to visit each other's homes, citing dishwasher safety concerns. When their kids tried to mediate, they ended up with 2 brand new dishwashers in one kitchen, one for the rinsers, one for the believers. Family reunions now require a PowerPoint explaining proper loading procedures. The tragic part? Both sides secretly use paper plates. 19. The Lawnmower Line of Doom. In Kansas, 2 elderly neighbors, who were also distant cousins, hadn't spoken in 8 years because of one crooked mowing line. It started when Earl accidentally crossed onto Hank's side of the yard by about 6 inches. Hank responded by placing a cinder block border, declaring it the official demilitarized zone. Soon, both men escalated with silent aggression, dueling lawn ornaments, motion sensor sprinklers, and a mysterious gnome army that appeared overnight. The local paper dubbed it the Suburban Cold War. It only ended when Hank's grandson married Earl's granddaughter, forcing both men to attend the same backyard wedding. They refused to sit on the same side of the aisle, but when a drunk uncle tripped over the border mid-vows, they finally laughed together. Peace was declared, temporarily. The gnomes, however, remain as sentries. 20. The Christmas Decoration Massacre. In Maine, two sisters lived across the street and tried to outdo each other's Christmas displays. One went classic, white lights, a tasteful nativity scene. The other went full Las Vegas, 20,000 lights, inflatable reindeer, and a Santa DJ booth. By year 3, their rivalry consumed the entire town. Neighbors complained about holiday light pollution, and the mayor had to mediate. When one sister rented a literal snow machine to simulate real magic, the other fired back with a 10-foot animatronic Grinch that flipped the bird. Things reached their peak when a stray reindeer inflatables drifted into traffic, causing a minor fender bender and major family silence. The city eventually passed an ordinance limiting decorations to reasonable wattage. The sisters didn't speak for 5 years, until one of them got arrested for excessive sparkle. Now they decorate together, but only under strict municipal supervision. 21. The Sandwich War of 1998. In Philadelphia, a father and son duo, both deli owners, became sworn enemies over who invented the family's secret sandwich sauce. The father said he created it in 1973 after a hangover. The son claimed he perfected it in 1995 after culinary school. The feud escalated when the son opened a rival deli across the street with the slogan, "The original taste improved." Lawsuits were filed. Yelp reviews turned into propaganda. Locals picked sides like it was a sports rivalry, and one radio host started calling it the Cold Cut Cold War. At one point, both men entered the same sandwich competition under fake names and tied for first place. They refused to share the trophy, slicing it in half with a bread knife. After the father's passing, the son found his old recipe book with a note inside. "You were right. It does taste better with paprika." He framed the note in the deli, right next to the menu. 22. The Great Pet Psychic Showdown. In California, two sisters who worked as self-proclaimed animal psychics stopped speaking after one accused the other of misinterpreting a dog's aura. It started during a client session when both gave conflicting readings for a golden retriever named Biscuit. One said he missed his past life as a horse. The other insisted he was a reincarnated Viking. Their argument went viral after a customer posted the video online titled "Dog Therapists Lose It." Soon they were giving rival interviews on morning TV, each with their own official canine hotline. When a cat named Muffin supposedly contacted them both from the beyond with different messages, it became national gossip. The sisters now run competing YouTube channels, each dedicated to exposing the other's false energies. The only being who seems unbothered is Biscuit himself, who's still alive and chewing furniture. 23. The Graveyard Picnic Feud. In Tennessee, a family's decades-long feud began with the strangest of traditions, Sunday picnics in the cemetery. Every week, the extended family gathered around their ancestors' graves with sandwiches and sweet tea. Things were peaceful until one cousin brought store-bought cookies and claimed Grandma's recipe tasted like dirt anyway. That single comment caused a generational divide. One branch of the family refused to attend future cemetery picnics, accusing the others of disrespecting the dead through gluten. The remaining family doubled down, bringing lawn chairs, Bluetooth speakers, and eventually a full barbecue grill. The city had to step in after smoke started triggering alarms at the funeral home next door. Now, both sides hold separate gatherings. One at the cemetery, one at the local park, and glare at each other when they cross paths at the grocery store bakery. The dead presumably rest in slightly roasted peace. Family feuds? Proof that DNA doesn't guarantee common sense. So, which one wins the trophy for ultimate stupidity?